Hello everybody, so in case none of you all know how to change the inner tube on a vintage bike or a normal bike for that factor, well today you're going to learn from someone who's been working and putting in a bit of money into this old-fashioned bike, which I do believe is around a 1960s cruiser, if I do believe. If I'm correct. One thing to note is that the derailleur is actually set up a lot different than on other bikes today. So if you take a look here on the distributor where the wheel attaches, you can tell right here, I bring you in closer, you can see how it's lined up to where the wheel can just slide right out. Because the wheels actually, instead of going back and out, instead of going out like this, they actually slide up and out. You can also tell from the mount over here. Can't entirely tell until you get up top. But yeah. So I got two heavy duty inner tubes for my Grandpa Trevor. Big shout out to him. Hopefully that will make this old bike able to run once again. First off, got the unboxing. Now this is I believe it's 12 by 2.25. I've already got it done, but see, it's a 26 by 2.25. So going to very carefully stick the knife in a spot that seems safest. You can see where this bubble is. That's the safest spot. Slowly get it in and just want to peel it off and then put the knife away. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but now that the knife is off, see, fresh inner tube. Oh, wow. Very strong rubber smell, so be careful. A lot of people would use masks for this because this is going to be, the smell, you really shouldn't smell these. I do just to make sure they're fresh. Because if you don't really smell rubber on here, then these aren't fresh. Or, well, most of the time they're not fresh. Meaning, putting these on may be a risk. Yeah, I just gotta remove the band. Pocket. But here is our heavy duty inner tube. This should be able to support a lot more weight than the actual tire, or the inner tube we have on. As you guys can see, gotta be careful because these appear to be a lot bigger, but they aren't. It's the whole fact that it's flat. Now I just gotta slowly look around to see what PSI we need to use. Now since it's the same size, it should be the same PSI. And this inner tube does not seem to say. Now, my mom and dad, well, if you guys don't already know, own a van. The van's tires take around 44 PSI. 40 PSI is around the standard PSI for a car. This tire, however, takes 40 to 60 PSI. Yes, almost that's 1.5 times what a normal car tire takes. But now that the inner tube is off, we're going to lightly assume that this takes the same PSI as a regular tire. So, making sure you guys can actually see it. Getting out the wrench set. And if your old inner tube, much like this one, is busted, you don't gotta worry how you take it off. Just be mindful of the rim. I use standard size because it's the most cheapest set I have. I also don't have metric. You can't afford it because for some reason it's more expensive here in Wisconsin. Stupid, but yeah, just something I guess Wisconsin decided to do. Holy wow, that bike shop really torqued these down. Good on him. Holy wow. Now, the cool thing is you do not need to take this off. This distributor does not need to be removed, as the tire should slide right past it. Now, you don't want to slide it all the way back because you're going to hit the frame. You actually want to slide a little bit out, and then, well, really you just want to try and force it upwards, and it should slide out of its position. Obviously, I do have the brakes on, so this process isn't going to be the most simple. But yeah, I do believe this bike is a 1960s cruiser, which, matter of fact, I do know on this bike it has crumple zones. I don't know if you guys can see or not, but right over here you can see these bars. In a fairly high speed impact, those will actually crumple in on themselves to provide a slightly cushioned impact. Now you're gonna have to be going fairly fast with a fairly high amount of force to actually get them to crumple in. But that's how these old bikes work. Just getting off this other tire. It's a really good thing that the bike shop actually torqued these down. I don't entirely blame him for the whole fact that these tires don't work, as they are used and donated, and since they're donated for free, there's going to be a catch. And as well as I do weigh a fairly high amount of weight, although apparently these tires are rated for around 180 pounds. They clearly aren't. Yeah, but now that you got both your lug nuts off, yes, they are called that on the bike as well, you need to take off your brake pads. This is very crucial because otherwise you can damage your brakes, as this has been taken off already without the brake pads removed. It actually bends the arms, and now every time I brake, they flex. And eventually that will cause the brakes to snap. That's why you gotta be very careful when you just take something right off. And this isn't a mountain bike, so I can't just unhook the brakes. It does not work like that. Although I really do wish it did, it doesn't. Get off this brake pad. So apparently when the bike shop replaced, normally bike shops are really generous and replace with brake pads. It looks like he gave me new brake pads, but these ones are very, very close to death. how worn they are. The size over here seems to be different. That is not good. That is also not good. Oh boy. I need to go get my pliers. Or, hold on, go get a wrench. Now, I kind of forgot what these are called, but mine are standard, meaning mine come in fractions. My dad's aren't standard, I forgot what it's called, but his come in millimeters. This is about 10 millimeter. I guess in this size is around 11. It's not good, meaning that means that this side, this brake pad over here is a different size, or possibly the same size but different model. That is also a not good thing. Just like cars, you should have the same size and tire, or the same size, brand, and tire for all of the wheels on your car. It's the safest option and the smarter option as well. Now we've got this out. You can see how it wants to come out. Pull it up. Slide the chain off. It comes right out. Now if you did slide it forward, you can see it wouldn't go forward. Frame's there. All I did was just pull up and it slid right out, as it should. Now you guys can see the damage that has been caused by the guard rubbing up against this as it was flat. This tire is still good. It actually just really needs a deep cleaning. Slight wear, not enough to actually kill off this wheel. So the rubber's still good. Now if I grab the flathead I have, make sure the tripod stands straight, down. I'm now going to show you guys how to get these on, or to get these inner tubes off in a safe manner. First thing you want to do is you want to take your, well, actually I want to make sure you're seeing what I am. Hold on. There. So first thing you want to do is you want to take your flathead and you want to stick it in, push down so you get to the other side of the tire, push it up as well. Also, you can see how it's bent. I was trying to get a old what do you call it, peg off of a bike. And it ended up damaging the screwdriver in the process. Yeah, you want to push it in, you want to lift both sides until you get screwdriver through. Until you get it off, like this. And much like how a tire changer works, lift and push. Or, for my matter of fact, pull. And also assist in bending the tire. You're not going to want to do it through the inner tube. You can if you want. But sometimes with a newer inner tube that just stopped working, they're going to be pretty much fused directly to the rim. Or somewhat directly fused to the rim. Once you got it probably about a fourth the way off, you can just push down. I normally push down really quick. It not only pops it off and stops it from sealing or fusing itself to the rim again, it also very much helps. And I think I see why this one doesn't fit. Do you see that? That's how it came out. Overlapped. This is very, very dangerous and will cause a tire to go bad. Meaning this rib may not actually be a 2.25. It also depends on when it inflates. But you can see how much slack we have. It's not very good. I'm going to have to try this out. I do have a spare in case this goes bad. Normally you want it to just fit around the inner tube, or fit around the wheel with no actual slack left. A little bit, but not for it to be able to be pulled too much. Just enough to be flexed onto the rim. Not enough to overlap. Because when they overlap, it's too bad. Or it is most likely too big. Now, older bikes did most commonly have this happen. But I'm still not entirely positive this is going to turn out good. Now, you gotta check your rubber seal on the inside here. There's a scratch on here. Okay, this seal is not very good. Also, rubber seal over here is damaged. And it is also very, very much damaged on the inside. To the point where you can literally almost see the heads of these spokes coming through. This will cause problems. However, this is a self-sealing inner tube, but still this can be bad. However, there is still some covering it. Now, if there was nothing here, nothing covering this head, that is when you need to replace that before even thinking of putting in a new inner tube. However, since there's still something there, put it in. Make sure you either got a self-sealing inner tube or that you're ready to most likely replace it within a day or two of using it. For my case, I have a self-sealing. I'm going to say it a lot, but this is not a good common practice to be doing this. Also, you got to flip these inner tubes inside out. Should have mentioned that before, but always have it to where it is facing outwards when you first lay it down. Yes, you want to have it flipped again when you put it on. You're just doing this to see fitment, see a little bit of slack there. It's not bad, not horrible. Best? Oh. Is it something that slightly concerns me? Absolutely. I am very slightly concerned Also, careful when you get inner tubes, because these ones didn't come with caps. You should get caps with your inner tubes. But in this case I didn't, and you can also see how much less wide these are compared to these. It's not the best, but there's fluid or whatever inside, so if this gets a hole it will seal itself. Like, probably around 5 times. Well, maybe 2 or 3, I'd guess. Yeah. Now that you got this in, put it in, screw it down. Don't screw it in. Like, once you start to feel relief, and don't fully grip it, just lightly grip it. Once it starts to slip, like this, like snapping your fingers, that's how much tension you want to have on here. See, I'm kind of snapping my fingers because I don't want to turn. That's good. Don't force it anymore. You will break the throat of it here, and it will be junk. And guess what? You just earned yourself the requirement of getting a new inner tube. Sometimes that will not be the case. Still, a very bad common practice. Now you guys can see how this is so wide, it's not going to want to fit very well. This is because it has not been broken in yet, and will actually kind of be like this once it's broken in. Just want to do this now. I'm going to tell you the catch to this. You can put it on the inner tube, or on the rim straight away. However, I'm going to do it slightly different. I'm going to put it in the tire first, because it will help me get it in on the rim. I'm going to set the cap down and start putting the inner tube into the tire. Lay it down on its side so that way you're not having to force or fight any other forces, aka most likely gravity, and the whole fact that it's not in a very good position. Now you can see I'm putting it here in. I've already spotted something. Well, you can see that, but that's rust. Now that could have very well been from me just fitting it on the tire, or on the rim. But it also very well could mean several other things. But yeah, you just gotta tuck this into the tire, into the inside of your tire. You can see this fits inside the tire without any overlap. That is a good thing. That means it will successfully fit on the rim. Just because it overlaps on the rim doesn't really mean anything until you test it on the tire. It's got to be overlapped inside the tire. You might want to start being concerned. Yeah, I've got it in there. Be careful how I do this, but if you notice how small this flag, I think it's, no, it's on the rear here. How small this is because I had to steal this from a BMX, because the one I had broke. So, yeah. Don't worry. Didn't have to spend any money on that. That was on a junk bike that was very much junk. Thankfully, the reflector on one side was good yet. Now what I like to do is put on my pants legs and slowly rotate it like that until you find where the inner tube throat goes. Put it in. That's the first thing you want to put in, is the throat of the inner tube. Now, screw it on. always have caps on your tube. Air will leak out of your tire when there is no cap on it. And dirt and debris can get in there, and then you need to get a new valve. Now, fun part. Getting this back on. You just gotta squeeze your tire, push it on, and do this all the way around. Always keep pressure on this one side, and push it on. And notice towards the end, it's not going to be so easy. And there will be plenty of times where the opposite end likes to shoot off. In my case, I'm not keeping even pressure, and that's why it wants to pop off. Now, I didn't have to use a screwdriver. Now, with these heavy duty ones, you do want to try and do this by hand without any sort of screwdriver, because oftentimes it's a lot better. Now, with the whole fact that this is on, also one of my spokes here is loose. That is also a very bad thing, because that can cause your tire to go flat as well. Now, with this on, you can tell it's a bit bulkier down on the bottom. That means it's overlapping. Sometimes. Could be the rubber down there is more thick. Really isn't the worst thing in the world. Now, could inflate this right now. However, I'm not going to do that. So I want to get this tire on. We're just gonna set this here. Take your derailleur, bend it back down. And we got a problem. Okay, never mind. We're good. You're going to take your tire up. First things first is slide your chain on before anything else. That would sometimes be the case. However, today is slightly different. I am starting to have troubles. Yeah, not easy to work on these bikes. There are a lot of things on here that are fairly easy because these things are built on simplicity. However, there are plenty, and I can guarantee plenty of moments where things are the opposite of easy. So you just gotta sneak your tire around the derailleur. Now it's time to sneak your chain on. Now, the tire, spots the tire back where it's supposed to go. chain, and get out my case, putting it on the here. Okay, so now the other part. I can see that situation. Oh, just got to fix that later, but now it's time to screw your tire back on. Just hand tighten your lug nuts at first. What I'm doing here. And it's time for the other side. Now this side has a washer because there was another, like a hitch piece here. I just cut the washer on. Anyways, yeah, and tighten it. Now it's time to tighten this down. Like, really get it tight. Like, once you tighten it and your bike starts to lift, hold it down and give her about a fourth, or if you can only get it to an eighth of a turn, that's fine too. But you want to do the eighth of a turn only when you are having a somewhat hard time keeping the bike down. I'm going to do the same principle to the other side. Going. See here, the other side is not lifting. Up until now, hold it down. Give her an eighth of a turn.